You're listening to Paris Talks Marketing. My goal with this podcast is to dig deeper into digital marketing success than any other marketing podcast out there, to reveal the growth marketing strategies and tactics that are working today, empowering growth at amazing companies and organizations. Keep listening as I interview founders, CEOs, and marketing leaders from all around the world, primarily from companies in the tech and software as a service industries. Now, on with the episode. Hi, everyone. Today, I have the pleasure of sitting with Jen Grant, and Jen is currently leading Appify as the CEO, delivering an enterprise-grade no-code platform that supports companies like Tata MD, Johnson & Johnson, and Keysight, and quickly delivering apps to their workforces. Prior to Appify, she spent the last 15 years taking multiple companies to over $1 billion valuation. That's billion. As CMO, Jen led Looker's marketing until the $2.6 billion acquisition by Google in 2019. She led the rebrand of Elastic and built a team that took the company public for a $2.4 billion valuation in 2018. And she grew Box from a small startup to an industry-leading enterprise content company with a $1.7 billion IPO in 2015. Wow, that's a lot of B's. That's a lot of billions, Jen.
Yeah.
But congratulations on all that, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk about all this fun stuff.
Can you just start us off by telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so today I'm the CEO of Appify, and Appify is a no-code app platform. So we actually work with companies to make it very easy for them to create apps for their employees and eventually apps for their customers. So if you take, any of the companies you mentioned, we sit on top of all of the tech stack that they have, whether it's Oracle or Salesforce or SAP, and they can very quickly, within just weeks, create an app that helps an employee maybe deliver support in the field, or a salesperson pull up customer information and give a quote to a customer, things like that.
Awesome. And this concept of no code, it seems to be getting more and more popular. I've seen this in a lot of website builders lately, landing page builders. So what is it about this headache of having to deal with developers? Can you describe that a little bit as a marketer?
You bet. Yeah. So of course we love developers. We'll start there, but there aren't as many developers as the ideas we have. So when a company says to themselves like, oh gosh, we have this new line of business and we need to give our employees an app on their phone that allows them to do something differently today. One example from the pandemic that was very real is that many companies needed PPE checklists to make sure their employees, if they were going into a warehouse or they were going to a customer site, they said, yes, I've got my hard hat, I've got my mask, I've got whatever it is in this particular site that I need. So that's an example of an app that many people created. And I think, really the difference is how fast can you create that app? Now, if you're a humongous enterprise and you already have 100 developers on staff, well, okay, maybe you could build an app in a couple of weeks because you put all, 20 of them on it, and then they QA'd it, and then they launched it, and, they're able to do it. But it takes, for most companies, they either don't have the developers or it just takes too long. And in addition, one of the issues with custom development is, not all these employees are going to be with you for the next 10 years. Is the app going to be with you for the next 10 years? It might. And so many of the people might move on who actually understand how the code was originally built. So the no code concept is, one of the reasons it's taking off is because it allows for you to very quickly create an app and then be able to say, well, I need to make this change, and this is not right, and I have to update this field, or add more information. And in like in a day, you could launch it again, and so that it's just much faster than custom development. But one of the things we do think about at
Mhm.
Appify, we think about how it can really give superpowers to your IT team. So in most companies, there will still be developers. We're not going to replace developers for sure, but we can make them a lot faster. So they're able to very quickly do apps that solve the problems of their lines of business. And then they can focus their energy on some of the deeper technical problems that the company also needs to solve.
Great. I'm on your website now and looking at the different the customer profiles, and it looks like you're targeting four primary industries: commercial equipment, manufacturing, construction, and medical healthcare. And one common thread that I see there is that I imagine that there are a lot of employees who are on their feet a lot. These are
Yeah,
not people at their desks so much.
that's
But
right.
was that intentional to target these industries based on those types of employees?
Yeah, and largely that's because that's where we see the biggest opportunity for, in particular for mobile apps or apps on a tablet, is that when you have a lot of employees out in the field for whatever reason, whether it's sales or servicing machinery or meeting with customers, they're the ones that sometimes the analysts will call them deskless workers, which sounds very fancy, but really it is people who are not kind of the
Hmm.
typical knowledge workers who are working in Excel and sending emails and setting up meetings. Instead, they are literally at the front line working with your customers, and so creating great apps that make them more efficient, more productive, maybe even a better customer experience because they have all of the history of this
Hmm.
particular customer at their fingertips. Those are the kind of things that we've really seen a no code platform be exceptionally useful for.
Great. And to pivot over to the different pricing plans that you offer, I see that there are three tiers, with the top tier being enterprise, and then you have the starter and a standard, 25 per month and 45 per month. The call to action for all of those is request a demo, or for the
That's right.
enterprise, it's talk to sales. But it seems though that you are really insisting everyone, even someone who's going to pay $25 a month, you still want to onboard them through a demo. Um, can you talk to me about that user journey, and have you
Yeah.
considered more of a lower touch, self-serve onboarding process?
Yeah, no, and I think that's a great question. So for all of the marketers in your list who are listening, I think it's really important to think through this kind of thing. And what's been interesting about my career is that at Box, it was definitely freemium. You could have a free app, you could credit card, get in there, use it. And at Looker, there was never a self-serve option. So I've sort of worked in both worlds. At Appify, I suspect we probably will eventually have a self-serve option where you can very quickly get in, build an app, try it out, figure out whether you love it, and then off you go with perhaps even a credit card. But today we're still at that stage where we're speaking to larger customers. No code is one of these things that people are like, oh, this is cool. I'm interested in it, but they don't exactly know what they're going to do with it. And so we're at the stage now where we really want to handhold everyone who comes to our platform to help them think through, like, well, what are the biggest business problems you have today? Okay, let's brainstorm. Are there apps that can help solve these problems? Those are the apps we should create first. And so that kind of conversation, for the size that we're at today, feels like the important conversation to have. And in addition, one of the things I saw at Looker was this exceptionally great customer experience. Was something Looker was very well known for. And certainly in the beginning, it helped the growth because customers were so happy. They would tell people they knew, and they'd fill out reviews on all the review sites. And so there was this wonderful customer love that we built because we really put people towards making new customers very successful. So it's sort of a combination of, we want to get in there and make customers super successful, because from a strategic standpoint, that will help grow our business. It will help our marketing to make our customers happy. And secondarily, it's such a new category that, we want to be involved in the conversation on what apps to build and how do we make sure you're successful, because it isn't obvious. We kind of want to make sure that they're really thinking through, what are the biggest problems in the business that I have today, and how do I create an app that can solve that problem.
Understood. What is the most common alternative for a potential customer of yours who would build an app? Is that just to hire an app development company, or is there some other alternative that's also out there for them?
Yeah, there are probably two alternatives. One is hire a bunch of developers who will build it for you. And the other there might be a point solution, let's say. So very often people come to us and they have one problem, because that's how we all work. We have sort of like, what is the problem right in front of me today? Not necessarily what are all the problems I'm going to have for the next 10 years. And so they will come to us with like, well, can you solve this one thing that we really wish, we have sales reps that go on site and they collect information, and we want to give a quote to the customer as fast as possible. Like, yep, we can solve that with an app. Now there may be a point solution that, let's say it's called like getaquotereallyfast.com or something like that. They could buy an app that does that one thing. And the conversations we really have is say, okay, this is unlikely to be the only problem that you ever want to solve ever. I actually was speaking to a really interesting, he was a technical services in the operations group at a field service company, a healthcare field service company. So they service medical devices. And one of the things he said, our industry, we are always buying software to solve the today, right now problem, which locks us into a piece of software that does not solve tomorrow's problem and the problem after that, and all of the things that we're going to attack in the future. And, that analogy, I think, perfectly encapsulates where we sit. Is we can solve today's problem, but the advantage of going with a no-code platform is that not just today's problem. We have this flexible agility that can allow you to then like, oh gosh, tomorrow I need this other thing, and I can quickly build it with this platform instead of saying like, oh crap, I've got to pay some consultants to sort of rejigger
chase down that old
thing.
App developer.
Right.
Right.
That's right.
I know that this kind of evokes the thought of WordPress, and one of the reasons why I think WordPress became the absolutely dominant CMS.
That's right. Yeah.
Is because of its ability for people not to be locked into a certain dev team with a proprietary CMS, and face the risk that if I want to update my website in a few years from now, this team might be gone.
Right. And nobody will know why it was coded the way it was. And yep, absolutely.
Right. So you can't hand off that work to another developer because it's just like a different language, and you'd have to start from scratch. Yeah, which is a huge disadvantage.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great conversation to have. And I'm curious also if when people are signing up for the demo, and it sounds like you're really doing a lot of consulting there with them too, do you sometimes determine that actually they don't really need a mobile app
I think
for the problem that they're trying to solve?
Yeah, usually what, if we determine anything, there are sometimes where we meet with a company that's so small that they really do just need a point solution. Like they really just need one thing and they'll be fine. So if it's we would love to help smaller companies, but we're more than they need. So for example, we talk to, my mom is a CEO, my dad is the president, and, I'm the one employee. And like, oh, okay, well, a point solution will be fine. You're not going to have all of the problems of the future that a larger organization might have. And also one of the real advantages to Appify is that we sit on top of your existing tech stack. So if you don't have an existing tech stack, we can still add a lot of value because you won't get stuck to an existing tech stack that might be too rigid to, make lots of adjustments to. But, if you're not planning to buy an SAP or a Salesforce or whatnot, there's less advantage to having a no-code platform. Although we do have plenty of customers that are smaller that, we love them.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So I'd like to pivot a little bit to marketing and your overall marketing strategy for Appify. Sure. Before I get into anything too specific, can you just describe generally how you are attracting leads?
Yeah.
To the business?
So yeah, we've recently shifted our strategy a little bit. I think we started with Appify. What we really started with is events. So you could see that in the last year, we had to shift away from that. So there was a lot of success with in-person events. Yeah. Many of the industries we were targeting are very much face-to-face. The trust is built there. We actually still have conversations with people that we met at an event, 2 years ago. Oh yeah, I remember you guys. Like, let's talk more. What have you developed since then, and where are you? So that was our original marketing strategy. I think the pandemic happened, and so we had to shift. And I think webinars, dabbled in webinars, tried some of the digital events. It's just not the same. We still will do some of them, but it was clear that it could not be the core strategy from a marketing perspective for Appify. So this last year we shifted. We pushed into digital advertising. So we started to do LinkedIn and content downloads and a variety of work there. And that worked okay. But at the end of this year, what we really solidified on is content marketing, because no-code app platforms are new enough that this is effectively category building. We need to educate everyone about what a no-code platform can do for them, for their business, how it works, how to think about building an app, how to change their perspective around technology and what it can do. So today, our strategy is very much content marketing and kind of building that category and educating the market around no-code.
Mm-hmm. And I am checking out the blog. About how often are you blogging these days?
So we're starting to pick that up. Our goal is to blog at least once a week. And then we're going to aim for 2 weeks, but I'm starting small. Like, let's start talking to the world, once a week, start, creating more content that we get out there. And that just started in February, our sort of change in approach. So I don't know if you can see it. All of a sudden, we blogged a couple more times than we ever had before. So there's a lot more focus on creating that content than we'd had previously.
I can see an acceleration.
Yeah.
I can see an acceleration.
The month of acceleration
in the recent weeks.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Yeah. That's our focus.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. I'm a big believer in content marketing and also different formats that can address people who are at different stages of their journey.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with you that this is like category building. And so there needs to be a lot of resources put towards the upper funnel educational type of content, just to open people's eyes to a different way of approaching a problem that they may never have even considered. And I also think you're doing a great job with middle funnel content, because I'm seeing the LinkedIn ads and all the case studies and the webinars. And as you said, maybe successful at driving sales qualified leads directly, but still that content and having that content just placed there in the funnel, it's going to be accessible and available to people. And I think that's a natural next step after reading, let's say, a short blog post, to just get a general sense of awareness.
Yep, totally. And
I'd like to talk a little bit about. Oh, sure.
I was going to say one example that just happened this morning that I was really happy about is we had a case study around our launching with a company called Tata MD. And one of the sales reps sent it out to a customer, would be a larger customer. We've been talking to them forever. Sent it out and said, just wanted to show you kind of some of the progress we've made in another large company like yourself that, that has launched Appify and sort of some of the results. And they got a response immediately like, this is really interesting. Let's get on the phone and talk some more. So exactly what you just said, that sort of late stage funnel kind of conversation with these case studies is exactly what happened. So we were all sort of, woo, okay, good.
Nice. Yeah. How about video? Now, the webinars are videos, but have you thought about a video strategy also?
Yeah. Yeah, I have to say I love video. I'm a big fan, and we have a dearth of video at Appify right now. So we haven't quite figured out what our strategy is, but I think in connecting to the content, we need to start looking at other mediums other than just writing or webinars. And I think that's definitely going to be one of the ones we push out into. As any startup marketing person knows, there's only so much money that you can spend. So trying to figure out how do we create a good quality video with good content that doesn't break the bank. So that's the challenge that I think we'll probably tackle in the next couple of months, is figuring out how to do that in a very kind of at a scalable way. Because I do think it'll be more, I love video, and I think it's very educational, especially with complex concepts where if you can animate something, you can more quickly explain a technical concept in a way that anyone can grasp it. And I think that's just across the board. I think video is excellent for doing that. And I would love to do more of that with Appify once we kind of get our cadence going with those content that we're putting out today.
Yeah. The nice thing about video also is that if you start with video, then those videos can be more easily repurposed into other formats, such as audio and written form, blogs, for example. But I find it's harder to do that in the reverse order. Turning a blog post into a video, to me, is a bigger effort than turning a video into a blog post. And both here at our agency and with some of our clients, we're trying to get them to pivot to a video first strategy.
Yeah.
And we still do the same type of planning around content topics. But rather than think about leading with a blog post, we think about how can we lead with the video and then later turn that into a blog post.
I love that.
And maybe
idea.
some other forms of content too, because a video can be chopped up as well into little shareable social media nuggets.
Yep. No, I think that's
highlights.
That's brilliant. I 100% agree with that. You got to start with the longest form you can do, and then. And I just said this to my team the other day. We had one fellow on our team wrote this really lovely, very long blog post about digital transformation and kind of no code and how it fits together. And I immediately said, "This is great. Let's chop it up. Let's send it. Let's make this a white paper. We can sort of take out the Appify and make it a white paper that someone might download to learn more about digital transformation and no code without being too salesy." While at the same time, make it a blog post. And okay, maybe we can take chunks of this content and create an ebook. And although the team sort of went, oh, wow, like one effort to write a piece of content can be many, many different things that are in different formats that are, they're different people respond to different links and notes and whatnot. So really pushing the team to do that. And I think you're right the video is you really have to plan. You have to plan the script. You have to really think hard about how you communicate. It's a little easier to write a blog post. I'm sure you'll find a place I breathe.
Hi, everybody. We're back on. And Jen was just describing how someone on her team created this beautiful piece of long form content and how that led to a brainstorming around creative ways to chop that up and get amazing reuse value and to take one piece of content and turn it into maybe 10 or more individual pieces of content. Yeah. And I think that's when content marketing gets a lot more fun.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think it's kind of an eye opener when people realize like, oh, for every piece of content, I don't have to start from scratch every time. We can create a lot of stuff from one effort. And I think, video being a great example, you spend a lot of effort creating a video. There should be like 18 ways to Sunday that you can reuse that content that you just created, because it does take a lot of energy to do it in the first place.
I want to move over to paid search. According to my research, it's a channel that either you haven't started yet, or you're still just testing out. Are you doing any Google paid search currently?
We've
Oh, you
done a
are.
little
Okay.
bit. Yeah, we're not currently doing it. We spent a lot of time in our digital advertising. We spent some energy on Google search. We spent some energy on LinkedIn. Um, the
Mhm.
the hard part about early stage, well, there's just two things. When you're creating a category, I am not sure if Google SEM and LinkedIn content, like any sort of digital advertising, at the beginning is as effective as it could be, because you don't have the brand. So you don't have this sort of brand awareness and people are sort of thinking about it, and you don't have the category necessarily. So when we started to do Google search, we would try to say like a work order app or a quoting app. And so we would try to go specific to something that was tangible that people would actually search for. But the problem was the conversations we had weren't necessarily these deeper technological conversations around platforms and no code and what it means for a larger IT firm. So that was the moment where we said, okay, our content isn't ready to put the money into this digital advertising piece yet. That is to say, we're going to get back to it. But we did pause to say, okay, let's step
Mhm.
back and make sure that the content we're putting out there is attracting the right people, that we're actually saying no code and people are going, oh, I want to know what that is, so that the conversations we have from that lead we just paid, a bunch for, are the kind of conversations that we actually want to be in. So that was so, but we definitely
I
did
understand.
dabble. And of course, in other companies I've worked at, it's been exceptionally successful. So I have no doubt we'll get back there. But there was a sort of a reset and like, let's create our category first. Let's get our content working. Let's get the machine working first.
Got it. Have you thought about or tested going after search terms that indicate people are looking to hire mobile app designers and mobile app developers? Because
I
there
love
is
that.
a huge amount of search
Yes.
volume around
I
those keywords.
love that you said that. I just the other day went, huh, actually, maybe this is a way to target. And so we have an SDR team. So I started by saying to the SDR team, go look for companies that are hiring mobile app developers and see if you can get some conversations going. So no, absolutely. I think there's a little bit of creativity that we probably need to turn on with some of those search terms and things like that we haven't yet gotten to. But for sure, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, yeah. We've in our experience, in our agency experience, we've worked with several category creators, and there is very limited search intent, and there's very limited volume with
Yeah.
the right type of intent. But it is about getting creative about the so-called adjacent intent, and sometimes that could be where you can really have success. Now, the pitfalls of that is that sometimes that adjacent intent, like going after a keyword like mobile app developer in Santa Cruz, it might cost you $25 for that click. And
Yeah.
that is just way, way too much to pay for a click. And
Yeah.
those are the pitfalls. But the adjacent intent of someone who's searching for a mobile app developer, at least it indicates that they're in market and they are planning to build an app, and they probably aren't aware of your
Right.
alternative to do it better, faster, cheaper. Yeah,
Right. Exactly.
and
No,
and
I think
uh,
that's
and
brilliant.
and without developers. hmm Do you at some point in the future do you see Appify as a brand becoming synonymous with the whole concept of no code?
Well, of course I do. Yes.
All right,
Actually, the
that was
the
that was a pretty obvious one.
what we really want to focus on, not just sort of broadly everything no code. We want to focus on, so from a positioning sentiment, we want to focus on enterprise no code
hmm
that IT embraces. I think that is really where we're finding our kind of positioning that fits really well with the product that we're delivering. And it is something that we think we have a lot to say about. Is we want IT to embrace the concept of no code versus um, there's, obviously there are plenty of no code options that are small and, that you can, and there's Microsoft Power Apps. So many companies might have lots of people in the company creating little apps with Microsoft Power Apps, which isn't a very controlled environment, can create a lot of chaos, a lot of data silos. And so we want to be synonymous with that no code agility that IT embraces, because they can manage and control, they can connect to old systems, and they're able to deliver more to their end users than they were ever before. So that's really what we want to be synonymous with.
Mm-hmm.
But if we own all
So
of
are
no
you saying
code,
that
we're good with that too.
That's pretty good. Yeah. I remember recently bumping into no code from a major app called ClickUp, which we now have migrated to from Asana, our agency. And I listened to a webinar, and they dropped that term many times, that you can design and do so much customization within this environment that it's stuff that previously you would have had to code, basically. And so this is a no code. This is a no code option for non-developers. You're saying you want that, you really want to be known in the IT community. I was thinking that the no code concept is something that the marketer is going to decide, oh, this is what I need because I can't get the right IT resources from my company, or it's just simply going to take too long. Is your primary buyer an IT person who's looking to just try to protect the resources and priorities of their team, and let the marketers go off and have better tools so that they don't bug the developers? Or is it the marketer who says, I'm just not getting what I need from the dev team? Or is it somebody else?
Yeah. So the conversations we've had are with IT that wants to deliver solutions to the marketer or whatever line of business. And they're not resourced to do it. They can't, they have a list of priorities so long that they're not able, which is a lot of the frustration I think we've all seen in big companies, where they don't have enough resources to actually address all of the maintenance and ongoing needs of the tech stack of a company, plus the new ideas, the new things that folks want to do. And so being able to have that kind of no code platform allows them to actually succeed. That's our hope. Now, at the same time, we do get lines of business who come to us and say, I really need this app. But we tend to say, let's bring IT into the conversation. Let's make sure this is not a shadow project in the corner that someday you'll get in trouble for. That, like, let's bring everybody together, and we're happy to have the conversations with IT around security and scalability and single sign-on, and how do we fit with the rest of their system so that we can create harmony between everybody in being able to deliver these tools.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And where are you in the overall journey of the overall growth journey? Have you raised any money yet? Any financing?
Yeah, so we did a Series A. So we're a Series A company, and then this last summer, in the middle of the pandemic, we extended the A a little bit, took a little bit more just in case. I think everyone was like, if there's money out there, we should probably take it right now, just in case. Nobody knows what's happening with this pandemic. And so we've been running on that right now. I think we're right at that stage where we're feeling that product market fit. We're seeing it in some of our customers, and we're saying, okay, let's get more of those customers, because we're starting to feel that, if you've ever been in a growth stage company, usually post Series B, there's like this feeling of like, oh, we're closing deals. It's moving forward. People are into it. They're like saying, yeah, I'm ready to sign now. It's those moments where you start to say, okay, I think we're ready to start growing. I think we're right at the stage where we're seeing the signals, but we need to confirm the signals before we actually, go for the Series B and hire 100 sales reps to start pushing the product out there. But it's feeling really, really close. Mm-hmm. So we're excited about the progress we've made so far, even in the middle of
That's awesome.
The crazy pandemic time. So.
Yeah, from my vantage point, SaaS had a huge surge forward during this last year. When I look at just the VC activity in this space, and it's still happening now. I mean, this seems like a golden age right now for SaaS.
Mm-hmm.
Probably just one of these situations where there's maybe too much VC money looking for too few good opportunities, and that there's just a lot of investment happening. And I think that the whole shift in consumer behavior also affected this. More people just moving more of their lives online.
Yep.
And I think in a lot of ways, B2C leads B2B, where consumer behavior is going to eventually translate into B2B behavior. And people that once would never consider let's say a no code solution for building an app for their employees, maybe 5 years ago, it would have never even been a conversation. But now they're all remote, and people are, I think, even in big enterprises, they're becoming more comfortable with off-premise cloud-based SaaS solutions.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's
So
definitely
I
true.
think
Everything you just said, I
your
totally
timing
agree
is
with.
perfect.
Yeah, and it is really important to look at the
Yeah.
B2C timeframe or kind of the innovations that are happening there, because I've seen that for the last 20 years where things become very easy in the B2C world. Consumers are like, "This is great," and then they go to work and they're like, "Why is it so bad? I have seen it work. It is not working."
Mm-hmm.
In my company or at my job, and that I think always drives then B2B has to sort of step up and deliver a better experience, because there are plenty of employees that they don't want to deal with the hard UI and the difficulties that can come from that.
Yeah, they're getting trained to the conveniences and those
Yeah,
great experiences, those great B2C experiences of video content always on demand, everything I want delivered straight to my door
that's right.
within always less than 24 hours now.
Oh, yeah.
So why can't work be the same way? I mean, I think that's just very natural. And I guess they want their work apps to behave like their favorite consumer apps.
That's right.
And those employers have to deliver.
Yeah, exactly. And I think,
I'm curious to know if you've ever looked at. Okay.
I was going to say, as employers
No, please continue. Sorry.
Yeah. As employers are starting to look at making sure they're retaining their best talent, many of, certainly we talk about millennials, but now we've also got Generation Z and, all the younger people moving into the workforce have absolutely no appetite for the kind of experiences that we have sort of, well, okay, I have to click 18 times to do this particular task, but whatever, I'll be done with it. They don't have that same patience, and good for them for not having patience for bad UI. And so employers actually have to think about, how do I deliver an experience to my employees that they say, yes, this makes sense, and I'm going to do this job, and I'm going to be happy about it.
Yeah, this feels like Uber, or this feels like DoorDash.
Yes.
because my young staff, they actually demand this, otherwise they're going to walk.
Right.
Yeah. They're kind of calling the shots now, aren't they?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
In a way. Yeah. There's something that I forgot to ask you, and I want to get back to this a little bit, because I see a lot of parallels with what you're doing to what companies like Wix and Squarespace and Webflow, if you're familiar with that company, have done to really disrupt the whole website builder market. And this is something that they started a few years ago, and I think now have really changed the whole mindset. Yeah. I was researching Wix and Webflow even today. Have you ever looked at how they do their marketing? And because they had to convince people not to hire developers also to build websites. And now you're trying to convince people not to hire developers to build their apps. Do you see any parallels with that, with what they did a few years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there, in fact, many people who, when they sort of go, wait, what do you do? They're actually the example. Well, you remember when you actually had to hire developers to build a web page? Well, now you don't, right? You've got Wix, you've got Squarespace, and there's, plenty of other folks that make it easy to very quickly get something up there. And so I absolutely use that as an analogy. Okay, now you would have to hire a developer to build an app, but why does it have to be that way? And that's, how I often describe Appify as makes it easy to build an app and, get it out there. Whereas before you would have hired custom developers. So yeah. But it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
You should look at their marketing, and I'm like, I should look at their marketing. I'm taking notes. This is a great idea. So I haven't. I thought about it more as an analogy, not necessarily thinking like, how did they build this
Mm-hmm.
market? How did they train people that they didn't need to hire custom, HTML developers to build websites? So I think that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well, I think I'm starting to run out of good questions for you, Jen. Maybe can we move over to the personal side a little bit? Can you tell us a little bit on the personal front? Just what are you doing outside of this? It sounds like this is taking up probably most of your time, as it should. But when you're not growing Appify, what are you into?
I'm into many things. I'd say I have a pretty big family. I have 4 kids. So we have, we've been going through the whole 2020 with online learning and hybrid, and some of them get to go back to school and some of them don't. And I have my stepson has got all these art projects that we have to get set up in the garage so that he can glue things and, create all this art for his online school. So lots of kid time, but I think if I was to say, other than spending time with the family, and of course we do this with the family, I'm also a big skier. So my husband and I are hugely into skiing as much as we can. So we try to get up to the snow and go skiing, and then when we can't get up to the snow, I am lucky enough to live in Santa Cruz, so I like to go out to the harbor and do some stand-up paddleboarding. So those are my 2 things, depending on whether I'm in the snow or near the water. And other than that, it's just,
you're one of the lucky you're one of the lucky people that can go even within days of each other. You can be paddleboarding and skiing almost practically on the same weekend, right?
Yep, that's what's so nice about Santa Cruz and in California. You can kind of get up to Tahoe and get on the snow.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Well, Jen, this has been great. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you would like to share?
Oh, I don't know. I'm thinking about, one of the things to think about, like as a marketer, so I'll just share my little tidbit, is I think I have been exceptionally lucky to now with Appify, I've been able to experience different go-to-market strategies with 3 different companies. And I think often, non-marketers, well, what's the one thing that will make us successful, which is there's never a one thing. And I think I would just encourage marketers to think about how there can be different go-to-market strategies for your company. So for Appify, because we're category building, it is content marketing. We think about Marketo. Like, how did Marketo become a category? Okay, it was content marketing, education. There was a lot of stuff that they did there. But then you take, Looker was very much customer success, direct marketing. There was no online. It was much more SDRs and sales outreach. And then you look at Box, and it was all this freemium model where you had millions of people coming in the funnel, and you had to sort of pick and choose and try to optimize them into a larger deal over time. And so I have found, from a personal perspective, it is incredibly rewarding to have been able to see 3 totally different go-to-market strategies. And so anyway, so I share that to encourage marketers not to get stuck in like, well, we have to be like this company. Because of course I've had lots of CFOs say like, well, why aren't we doing marketing like Salesforce? And why aren't we doing marketing like, name a big company that's very successful? And so it's, the marketers have to kind of hold tight and say, well, our strategy is this, and stick to it, because it's, you can't just copy what some other company does. You have to know what's right for your product and what's right for the composition of your company and the skills you have in order to decide what your go-to-market is. So there's my little tidbit.
That's a very great point, Jen. Thanks for sharing that. And I just have a follow-up question on that note. If you are going to predict how Appify's marketing strategy will evolve, do you think it will look like any of those prior experiences that you had,
Mm.
or do you think it's going to be something new, a whole new approach?
It's a really good question. I think I take bits from different experiences. So I think over time, I think our top of the funnel PR strategy will look more like Box. Very loud, talking to lots of people, lots of thought leadership, lots of speaking, because we need to evangelize. And there's a lot of that at Box. And then I think at Looker, what I take from that is the customer focus is getting. I mean, at Looker, you would go to G2 Crowd and people are saying the most amazing things about how great this company is. Well, that's like the best marketing ever is, to have review site after review site with 5 stars. And I love this company and they did everything for me. So taking that chunk from Looker and really saying, we've got to get to that point where, getting a review site is easy because we have so many customers that want to sing the praises of our company. So those are the 2 nuggets I've taken from my previous experience. And then I think the add-on to, at Appify is really getting into the content piece of the, white papers and how-tos and educational material, ebooks, webinars, videos, whatever. Which we focused a little bit at all, in all my other experience, but we didn't go as deep as I'm hoping to do with Appify. So it'll end up being a little pick and choose from each at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, you're certainly allowed to do that, and I think it's a smart approach. And it seems like you're at the beginning of what's going to be an amazing journey, and I do think the timing is exceptional as well. So I really wish you all the best with Appify, Jen.
Thank you. This has been very fun.
Another great episode in the books. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to get notified when future episodes drop, be sure to subscribe to Paris Talks Marketing on your favorite podcast player. And to learn more about SaaS growth marketing, visit hop.online. That's hop, HOP.online. Have a great day.